Most people struggle growing basil microgreens unless you know the secrets to a perfect crop every single time. In this video, I'll show you how to master basil microgreens from seeding to harvest with all of my best tips and tricks that I've learned over the last decade of running one of Canada's largest microgreens farms. Basil microgreens are bursting with flavor, making them one of the most popular varieties out there for hobby growers and commercial growers. But they're also known for being quite a tricky crop. Slow and uneven growth, disease issues, lack of flavor. I've seen it all, but here's the good news. By the end of this video, you'll have the skills to grow basil microgreens so perfectly, you'll think they're a beginner crop. Let's dive in. So why should you grow basil microgreens? They are one of the most delicious, beautiful, and popular microgreens you can grow. Whether in a pesto, sauces, soups, or just as a garnish, basil is by far the most popular herb in the Western world. And many people actually prefer microgreen basil over full-size basil as its flavor is more rich and spicy than mature basil. Also, if you want to start a microgreens business, you can sell basil microgreens to chefs who love the aromatic flavor, to grocery stores who greatly appreciate the longer shelf life compared to imported basil, and at farmers markets where customers will pay a premium for quality. Also, not many farms actually grow basil microgreens, so it can give you a unique advantage in starting and growing your microgreens business. And here's the best part. I'm not just showing you how to grow basil microgreens, I'm going to show you how to get the absolute highest quality, richest flavor, and the most aromatic basil, all using the tricks I've perfected over 10 years of growing experience. Now, let's talk about what you actually need to grow basil microgreens. To get perfect basil microgreens, you need the right setup, and here's what you'll need. First off, you're going to need growing trays with holes. I recommend a shallow 10-20 style tray with drainage holes. It's the industry standard and keeps things easy. Bootstrap Farmer makes fantastic trays that are practically indestructible, so they'll last for many years to come. You'll also need growing trays without holes to be able to water your crop. Next is the growing medium. I really like the super soil recipe of using ProMix HP or MP with added organic fertilizer. Basil is a longer term crop, so it grows much fuller and higher yielding with added fertilizer. A plant is only made up of its genetics and what it can use from the environment to grow. So higher quality soil equals higher quality plants. Next is seed. Using quality seed is vital to get good results with trickier crops like basil. Spending a little extra on seed will often save you a lot of headaches down the road. Genovese basil is my personal favorite variety to grow because it has the highest yield and best flavor. But there's other types of basil you can grow like lemon basil, cinnamon basil, and even a purple basil. I recommend Johnny seeds, high mowing, or mom sprouting seeds for the best seed quality. Next would be vermiculite. This one is optional, but I find it really helps reduce mold growth. So in my opinion, it's well worth the small extra cost. Next is grow lights. So LED grow lights are ideal and pretty much the standard in the industry now. You want to aim for 18 hours of light daily for strong, vibrant growth. And I really recommend using 3 grow lights per 4 trays. Basil really benefits from that additional light as it encourages faster growth and a more aromatic and flavorful crop. So you definitely do not want to skip out on the right lighting. And lastly is the growing rack. So while you can grow microgreens on a windowsill, it's going to be difficult to hang the lights. So a growing rack will just make your life a lot easier. You can also multi-purpose those growing racks for storage and growing other types of plants for your garden. And it only takes up 6 square feet, which will allow you to grow 20 trays of microgreens in a pretty small footprint, which is, in my opinion, one of the best parts of microgreens. You can start it as a business in a spare bedroom, a basement, or a garage and earn income from a hobby you truly enjoy. That's how I got started and was able to turn it into a profitable large-scale business that I eventually sold and is still operating today. All of the links for the supplies I recommended are in the description down below. Now that you have everything you need, let's break down step by step how to grow basil microgreens. So first you want to start by preparing the trays. So you want to mix your organic fertilizer into the soil, and I recommend using around 30 to 40 grams of fertilizer per gallon of soil. Next, you'll want to fill the trays that have holes with soil. I recommend filling the trays to the top and slightly pressing down to create a flat surface for the seeds. And now you're ready to actually add the seeds to the soil. Basil, you'll want to use around 3 to 5 grams of seed. The lower end of that range, 3 grams, will result in a lower yield, but a larger size and higher quality microgreen, while the higher end of that range will result in a higher yielding, but smaller size microgreen that is considered a lower quality product. The more seed you add, the higher the risk of disease, so more is not always better. To save some time and reduce the risk of disease, you can use a seeding tool to evenly spread the seeds on the soil. Next, you'll want to add vermiculite on top of the seed. As I mentioned earlier, this is optional, but it will save you some time watering during germination and reduce the risk of mold. Now it's time to wet the seeds and soil and start the germinating phase. One of the biggest mistakes I see new growers make is overwatering their crops at the beginning, so you just need to wet the top half inch of soil. A lighter watering is better as you can always add more water, but you can't remove excess water from the soil. Next, you'll want to stack your trays so there is some pressure helping the seeds orient downwards. Now the waiting game begins. It'll take 4 to 6 days for your basil microgreens to sprout and be ready for light. If you top coat with vermiculite, you won't need to do anything during this time, but if you didn't add vermiculite, you'll want to add a light spray of water to the top of the seeds to keep them moist. After 4 to 6 days, you'll unstack your trays, put the trays with holes inside the trays without holes, and bottom water for the first time. If the trays feel heavy, just a small amount of water would be needed, and if they feel quite light and the soil looks dry, then adding some more water would be better. A good starting point would be roughly 250 to 500 milliliters of water, or around 8 to 16 ounces of water. Now it's time to turn on the lights. You'll want to keep the lights on 18 hours a day. A Wi-Fi timer can automate this, and you can get those on Amazon for less than $10. Basil microgreens grow much healthier and vigorously with strong lighting, so 3 lights per level will make a very big difference versus 2 lights per level. For the next 10 to 12 days, you want to keep an eye on how dry the trays are. When they feel light or the soil on the surface seems dry, that means it's time for water. Some growers water every day, but personally I found watering every 2 to 3 days works quite well. Basil also isn't a heavy drinker like pea shoots, so it does require much less water overall. Your basil microgreens will be ready to harvest in around 10 to 14 days once the leaves are about the size of a sunflower seed. Now you're ready for the most rewarding part of the crop cycle, harvesting and eating the fruits of your labor. The best way to cut your basil microgreens is with a sharp knife. If the knife is dull, you're much more likely to pull up roots as you cut. Scissors tend to damage the stems, so a knife is definitely the way to go. You can expect to get about 150 grams of microgreens from each tray. Now, basil microgreens are sensitive to the cold, so they don't store super well in the fridge. If you do plan on storing them in the fridge, then the furthest spot away from cold air vents would be best. The cut microgreens will last around 7 to 10 days after harvest, but they are best consumed fresh. Now let's dive into the top tips and secrets I've learned in growing the absolute best quality basil microgreens. First off, basil prefers warm tropical-like conditions. The ideal growing temperature for basil is kind of crazy. It's actually 30 degrees Celsius or 87 Fahrenheit. Now, of course, no one is going to keep their home that warm just for basil. So the best way to keep your crop a bit warmer is to grow them at the top of your growing racks. It'll be warmer than close to the ground, so you can shave off a day or two of grow time this way. Basil takes me 15 to 16 days to grow, whereas some farms it takes over 3 weeks. So with a warmer temperature of about 22 to 24 Celsius or 72 to 75 Fahrenheit, you'll speed up the growth of your crop quite significantly. The next tip is that basil does not do well if harvested with wet leaves. Some crops can handle the extra moisture, but basil absolutely cannot. It will literally rot in a matter of days if the leaves are wet. So having a fan blow on your crop, especially the day before harvest, will ensure they are dry for the absolute best shelf life. Basil is quite prone to a common microgreens disease called dampening off, also known as pythium. This is totally preventable in 2 ways. So pythium spreads in water. So obviously overwatering your crop is the fastest way to get this disease on your crops. Also, high seed densities and clumping of seeds from uneven seeding can cause an outbreak quite easily. This is why I don't recommend cranking up the seeding rates on your crops, as you're almost guaranteed to get severe outbreaks of Pythium at some point. Now, some growers have experienced yellowing of their basil microgreens. This is a common sign of nutrient deficiency. When you grow without fertilizer, you'll likely run into this with longer growing crops like basil, cilantro, and amaranth. In my opinion, all microgreens benefit from fertilizer, but crops like basil, it is mandatory for a quality product. Lastly, we'll touch on lighting. Like I said earlier, basil is from the tropics where sunlight is plentiful. Basil needs strong lighting to get the aromatic and flavorful aspects of basil that you're familiar with. Using high quality grow lights makes a big difference, and using the right amount of light will ensure you have high quality and high yielding trays of microgreens. So now that you've grown the best micro basil in town, what's next? You can use your incredibly flavorful basil in your favorite dishes, or you can choose to start selling your basil microgreens to your local community. If you're selling them, package them in clear clamshells that hold roughly 25 grams or 1 ounce of microgreens. Chefs absolutely love basil microgreens, which makes selling them that much easier than the typical microgreen they see on the daily, like pea shoots or kale. With these tips, you'll have success right from your first grow instead of the years it took me to perfect this recipe that I'm sharing with you guys today. So quick recap, the secret to perfect basil microgreens is growing in a warm temperature with strong and consistent lighting, having evenly spaced seeds for good airflow, a high quality soil with fertilizer, and to avoid overwatering. Follow these steps and you'll be harvesting lush, fragrant basil microgreens every single time. If you found this video helpful, make sure to like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon so you don't miss my next video. Also, let me know in the comments if there's any other crops you'd like to see a video on. And if you want to master even more profitable microgreens, grab my free microgreens growing guide in the description below. Thanks so much for tuning in, everyone, and I'll see you guys in the next video.